Hi everyone. All right, so let's jump into our second section of our chapter on socialization. In this second section, we'll look at why socialization matters. In particular, we'll focus on the nature versus nurture debate. So if you recall from our last chapter, yes, the chapter on culture, we look at the example of a Russian young girl who was raised as a pharaoh child, and if I remember her name correctly, I think it's Asana Moksala, or actually, wait, hold on, I'm going to look that up for you. Osana Malaya. So again, go back to our culture slides if you don't recall watching a video about her. But in this part, I'll also give you the example of two more cases of children who did not receive the adequate amount of socialization in terms of interaction with other people, in terms of being able to talk to other people, to hear other people speak, and so on. So one is the case of Danielle. By the way, she is American, and feel free to stop this video, my lecture video, so you can watch this YouTube video. And the next person, Jeannie, is also an American as well. Go ahead and watch this short video clip about her. Both Jeannie and Danielle are very, very well-known cases about isolated children in the U.S. So, now I hope that you watched both of those videos. So, between the debate between nature and nurture, this is an ongoing debate. Nature emphasizes heredity, whereas nurture emphasizes social environment. So the debate is whether is it nature or nurture that most determines our human behaviors. So studies of feral, isolated, and institutionalized children indicate that only hereditary certainly plays, that although hereditary certainly plays a role in the human equation, it is society that makes us quote-unquote human, because people learn what it is, what it means to be, and constantly become members of the community through language, through social interaction, and other forms of human contact. So feral or wild children have occasionally been found, like for example I just mentioned Oksana Malaya, right? Children living in the woods who may have been raised by a wild animal, and that's certainly the case of Oksana Malaya. She was raised by dogs, so not such a wild environment, but still she was raised by animals, wild animals. So, or pets, I should say. But these stories, right, like Asana Malaya, lead one to wonder what humans would be like if left untouched by society. There is also another case of a young Cambodian woman who was indeed, a feral child raised by, who was living in the jungle for more than 10 years, I believe. And by the way, you can look this up on YouTube if you want to. This is a recent case. She was lost as a child. I think she was playing with a sister, and then somehow she was lost in the jungle. Her parents weren't able to find her. And then several years ago, someone was looking for whoever or whatever that took their food, stole their food, and this man found this girl in the jungle and was shocked, of course, and then so he called the police, and just by coincidence, the police who came responded to this man who found this girl in the jungle is actually the father of that girl who was living in the jungle. It was really, really interesting story. And so now her family and the members of her village are trying to integrate her back into society, but she's still, quite shocked. She sometimes, for example, would run back to the jungle or she would, not know how to react appropriately to when people give her food, for example, and so sometimes she would, react almost like an animal, I guess. Again, her language, vocabularies are very limited. Maybe mama and papa, and so and again, she's still in shock that now she's meeting these people who are feeding her. Seem like they're taking care of her. She's very well treated, but she also didn't feel like, comfortable there. Any case, very interesting case. Go ahead and look it on YouTube. Okay, so that's feral children. So with isolate children, they show us that what human might be like if they're secluded from society at an early age. So there is an age of Isabel. I don't have the link here, but you can look her up. So although initially she was believed to be retarded, a surprising thing happened when she was giving intensive language training. So slowly she acquired language, and 2 years later she was able to reach the normal intellectual level of her age. So we need language, right, in order to acquire culture to become part of the society. So the fact that she was able to do this, that means that she can, become, reintegrate into society again. Institutionalized children, right, show that that traits, such as intelligence, cooperative behavior, and friendliness are the result of early close relations with other humans. So if they become very isolated, they may not be able to develop a healthy way. And again, one of the most important thing of being human is language. Be able to connect to each other, communicate with each other, share stories, share emotions, and so on. And if you don't have that capacity to exchange with each other as human beings, your ability to become socialized, to become part of this a member of society is very limited. So as you can see, again, right, the cases of these, children show us that, maybe certainly nature play a part in our personality, who we become, but, a bigger part is nurture, the environment in which we grow up in. That determines how we become, who we become, and whether or not we become a healthy person as a member of the society. Another example is this case of Chris Langan. He is the smartest man on earth, according to himself, as well as many other people. He has an IQ of 200, which is the highest, right? Einstein has an IQ of approximately 160. And I'm sure most of you know who Einstein is. So that tells you, as you can see, this Chris, right? He is even smarter than Einstein. But the problem is this, Chris. Well, not a problem, but his life, the struggles that he had growing up with, being raised by a single mom, having to move constantly, right? Didn't have enough food to eat, and the fact that he was smart, very smart. A lot of the kids in his neighborhoods at his schools did not like him, so they would beat him up. So as a result of this brilliant man, right? He is so smart. He wasn't able to shine, wasn't able to succeed in our society. So he did enroll in college, for example, and eventually he dropped out. And he was really smart. It wasn't, he could pick up, the subjects, whatever subject he was taking, he could absorb all the materials very quickly. In fact, he's oftentimes would study, about our side of the world on his own, because he was so intelligent, but because he was in an environment, unfortunately, in a healthy environment that would, support his growth, and along with his intellectual, IQ, he was struggling so much socially, right? With, again, being raised by a single mom, being poor, being beaten up by, not only his peers, but as well as his stepfather, as well as teachers who just didn't like the fact that he was smarter than them, right? So again, this shows you that although in terms of nature, his perhaps part of his IQ is nature, is hereditary or is biological, but he ended up not being very in terms of our society standards, right? Not very successful anyway, because again, he didn't get his college degree, he dropped out. What he's doing, he didn't get a very good career, and he's not very well known, even though his IQ is very high. Very smart man. Anyways, I encourage you to stop this lecture video so you can watch this astounding YouTube video about this gentleman. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll stop our video here so that way we can move on to the next section.